Hi guys, Keir Starmer seems determined to provide his enemies with as much ammunition as possible. So a few days ago, the Prime Minister announced that on Monday there will be an investment summit which will attract both British and foreign cash for the rebuilding of Britain after the Tories. One of the big investors is the parent company of P&O Ferries. However, it has pulled out of the event and said that a £1 billion investment into a port was on hold over comments the Transport Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister made about P&O's work practices. This resulted in the Tories and their client media jumping on the story. But what did Starmer do next? Did he back his minister? No, he distanced the government from the minister's comments.
What they have said is that the Transport Secretary does not speak for the government on an issue to do with transport. That is untenable. It's a ridiculous place to be. And what you have is a slightly schizophrenic, disjointed sort of government where some people are trying very, very hard to be a sort of a new Tony Blair style, reassuringly sort of centrist. And on the other side, I'm not surprised the trade unions are understandably cock-a-hoop about legislation that may be great for some people in steady jobs in the public sector, but is a disaster for small businesses and anyone who genuinely wants to see and understands how the market creates jobs and how people take risks and take people on very, very hesitantly. So there are two governments essentially, and Keir Starmer's not decided yet which one he wants to be.
It's pretty terrible that, a former spin doctor for Boris Johnson is making hay out of this. Look, this is really simple. Keir Starmer should have backed his minister, and he should have used the rhetoric of 2022 as a reason to do so. So what happened back in 2022? P&O Ferries fired a load of British workers. It didn't fire any French workers, it seems, but that's for a different reason. We won't mention that. But it fired 800 British workers, something like 800, and then rehired the staff under worse paying conditions. They also hired a number of agency staff. Now, the reason the company said was, we're on our knees, we need to fire all these staff, we can't maintain these costs. Every single, or pretty much every single Conservative MP stood up in the House of Commons back in 2022 when this happened and condemned P&O Ferries. They said it was a disgrace. They said it was unacceptable. They said that P&O Ferries should be punished over this. Even the Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps at the time, on live TV, criticised P&O Ferries over this. Now, at the time, I said nothing would come of it. And the reason I said so, not because I'm Nostradamus or something, but because the Tories don't care about workers. It was all a charade. It was all for show. Theatre. Political theatre. We're not going to really punish P&O Ferries, but we understand that ordinary people are angry over this, so we'll jump on board that bandwagon. Will we actually do anything about it? Of course not. And nothing was done about it. P&O continued as before. There was a lot of rhetoric, but very little action. Now, fast forward to today, and Keir Starmer is condemning, in a sense, or distancing himself from his Transport Secretary, who has rightly said that P&O work practices are a disgrace, are unacceptable. Now, Keir Starmer could easily say, look, I'm backing my Transport Secretary because she's correct, in the same way as the Tories were correct back in 2022 when they criticised P&O. What has changed? Nothing has changed. But he won't do that. Why won't he do that? Why won't he challenge these people? Is he completely spineless? It seems to me that Starmer is more concerned about what the Tories think than what ordinary people think. He cares more about what the media thinks than what ordinary people think. Is he afraid to criticise the Tories, call them out? They were actually standing up in the House of Commons one after the other over a number of days criticising P&O Ferries. Why doesn't he talk about that? Why doesn't he say, look, yes, they were doing it back in 2022. Maybe they've changed their mind, but the situation has not changed. So I'm going to back my Transport Secretary. Now, is this embarrassment? Is this an embarrassment losing this investor? Yes. But take it on the chin. Say, we don't want investors who are not going to respect British workers. I think he would actually have some respect from the public if he said that. We want to attract decent investors. We want to attract investors who care about British workers, who care about the environment, who care about operating within normal parameters. That's what he should be saying. We don't want corrupt companies, or we don't want corruption, or we don't want these problematic companies. I'm not directing this at P&O, but this type of thing. This is what he should be saying. He doesn't need to call out the company directly, but he should say, we don't want bad investors. We want good investors. Now, this could all be an attempt to get a better deal with the British government over this port. So the investors saying, let's pretend to pull our investment, or pull out of this summit. The summit isn't going to make a difference to them, but pull out in order to get some leverage over the government. This could be what's happening. But if that's the case, then Keir Starmer should double down on supporting his Minister or Secretary of State. Absolutely pathetic. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.